Good afternoon, Australia. Good evening, America, and welcome to everyone listening across the planet. This is Insight Intelligence. I am your co-host, and the gorgeous Mario Bekes will join me momentarily. But before he does, here's what you need to know. If you're listening on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter, Payo is listening in today, and he is ready to take your comments, respond to your requests, and provide you with links to anything that we talk about today. A reminder too that you can see the replays of all these shows on Binge Networks USA, Hero Go TV USA, Zondra Networks TV USA, Paz TV USA, and the Toni TV channel app, available on all Roku, LG, and Samsung smart TVs across the planet. That's a big mouthful to start a show, isn't it? Now,
It
the
is.
other important thing we do each week is our acknowledgement to country. So I want to respectfully acknowledge the people of the Yugambeh language region on the Gold Coast, Queensland, Australia, the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and broadcast, and pay my respects to the elders past and present and all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. Now, this is our very last show with the gorgeous Mario Bekes for this series. I have high hopes that we'll be able to do more in the future. But for this series, we're going to have a little break. And today I want to remind you of this gorgeous human being who grew up in communist Croatia. And back then it was part of Yugoslavia. And he witnessed firsthand social unrest and war. And it was in the middle of the Croatian War of Independence, and Mario's world was turned upside down when one morning he awoke to a knock at the door, and his family and girlfriend were gone. His neighbours were packing and fleeing the city, and the military was at his door telling him he had to report to the army barracks in an hour. From those inauspicious beginnings, Mario has become a natural-born global leader, a public speaker, a results-driven, best-selling published author. He's a relationship builder, a facilitator, and he has decades of experience in investigative techniques, interviewing, interrogation methods, and all things intelligence. And today we want to talk to Mario about his books, and there's a number of them. But before we do that, please welcome back to the show, Mario Bekes.
Toni, thank you very much. Thank you to all your listeners and viewers. I strongly recommend that everybody who is looking to have a great exposure, great communication with the outside world, not doing on your own, please contact Toni. I'm very grateful that in past 3 months, I had the opportunity being on Toni's show as a co-host, and it brought me so much joy. Most and foremost for myself, I must say it is communication skills. Before, I had never been part of this, and I know that my appearances on across other podcast shows and the TV appearances actually boomed after I was with Toni for past few months. And Toni, I'm wishing you safe trip, safe traveling to wherever you go, and taking a break. And as well, I'd like to say thank you to your team in US, particularly TJ, who is always patient with me, correcting my equipment. Some people, take a longer. So thank you for having me on your show, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are.
Oh, Mario, the pleasure has actually been all mine to gain that knowledge that you have in that amazing head of yours around all things
Thank you.
intelligence and surveillance. It's been really a great experience from my perspective as well. And so today we wanted to cover off on Mario has a heap of books that he's written over his time. And so I wanted to cover off today about his books because we've hardly had time to talk about those things. We've been
Yes.
talking about all things in between, including the amazing courses that Insight Intelligence offers for people who are wanting to get into surveillance and investigative work. And of course, Mario's just returned from his own overseas travel where he went to Eastern Europe, Dubai, Singapore, and Manila to talk to clients about their needs around investigation, surveillance, etc., etc., etc. And Mario, are you hoping to do more of that in the future now that the globe's kind of opened up a bit?
That's correct, Tony. And I truly believe that we all should uh, jump on a wagon and explore the world as best as we can. And unfortunately, there's
It's
a lot of
changed a
people.
bit though, hasn't it?
Yeah, world it's starving to meet existing businesses who were not able to connect during the pandemic, a prior pandemic, and pandemic actually showed us that regardless of what type of experiences negative we have in life as a pandemic, and we must agree that pandemic is not something normal. Um,
No.
and we've been in lockdowns, and we have that type of hybrid of work, hybrid of communication, and most importantly, people were more connected online, and I can see that digital arena it's gonna boom even further.
I
And
agree.
those people who are and usually that's a case. During the pandemic, many people started hard and then they disappear from the market, and that's what that makes you unique. And people are always going to strive and look for the partners in business like yourself, Tony. When it comes to my business, it's straightforward. I had
Mm.
existing clients prior to COVID, during the COVID, and now I was going there to enhance their knowledge, their education, and I give them the new insights and new views into modus operandi of the criminals and the fraudsters and so on. And it was
Mm.
challenging, but I said, like, the world is opening, and it's everybody should take opportunity to explore these avenues because it's going to be only beneficiary. That's all.
And that's the thing, Mario. We are really moving fast in terms of technology. And
Yes.
for businesses and corporations, they really need to be on top of those things and understand those frauds and things that are happening because technology is moving so fast, isn't it?
Yeah. Look, if I can give them my 2 cents, I think that's the saying, 2 cents. Uh,
It's a good
in
saying.
Yeah, people spend tremendous amount of money reaching demographics, reaching the people, and to know who is interested in what. And Tony, I'm strongly, I'm imploring you that you while traveling, explore different views on the world. What I had opportunity to see, and I said that's a curse of mine because that's how I was educated and in my work in intelligence
Mm.
field. I was observing people on airport across the globe because in waiting areas and so on, and
People
every
watching is fun.
that's correct, and everybody was on some type of digital device. Is a mobile phone, is an iPad, excuse me, or is a computer, laptop, whatever you want, and you cannot not see it what people doing. I mean, except if they're like like holding this so close to the
Hold.
heart.
Yes.
And then I saw that people are looking the way to connect with other people,
Uh-huh.
either emotional relationship, love relationship, business relationship, and everything else. And some people simply they're using their time on airport to play the games. And then I
Mm.
realized that this is the best sentiment you can do the snapshot because you have the group age, you have the sexes, male,
Mm.
female, and others, and then you can see that who is watching what, right? And then realize that's the best thing you can do, have that sentiment, and you can see do analysis what people actually want. And it's a
Yes.
digital against a digital. Everybody was on that device. Nobody's watching
Yes.
the planes taking off, and people have a meal.
Yes.
But so when you travel, Tony, just observe your environment, and you're going to see it how people are actually starving for the something more um, substantial. When I say substantial, something relaxing, something
Yes.
which can be educational, um,
Yes.
something good for the brain, because people want a certainty, want a hope.
Mm.
Because on airports you have all these beautiful TVs with the all news there, and like I
Yeah.
realized nobody was watching news because it's all this
Negativity and
negativity. And then you see on the laptops, because I was sitting next to the one couple, and they were watching some documentary, how to become the better entrepreneur. You know, I mean, I was like, okay, interesting. You know what I mean? So,
Mm.
you know, the people, and they engage in conversation. So this is what I saw in a world. And as I say, world, it's the it's a global village. You know, you can reach any corner of this planet within 24 hours. Uh,
Mm.
um, Depending if you're traveling in economy class, that's going to take a little bit longer to recover. But but
Yeah, there's always that.
yes, that's a side effect. But being said, informations are going more digital rather than
Mm.
my old school education, you know, human to human, and that's just
Yes.
like a digital arena. It is something, and I can see that there's coming many new business owners, entrepreneurs, and
Mm.
uh, influencers wanna be. They're all
Yes.
exploring how to learn to become something good in their field, what they want to be, how they can
Mm.
communicate with somebody who's ready in that field, and as well how they can put out their knowledge or expertise or whatever do. And that's to say, uh,
Absolutely.
I'm grateful of being on your team, Tony TV. So yeah,
Oh, and and that actually, as I catch myself saying that every
yes,
show, that
mm,
you can see, you can download the Tony TV app, and I don't ever think about it consciously, except this morning I did. I'm like, that's a bit cool. That's a bit cool, but that option is open to all businesses and corporations to do something that's outside the different and have direct contact and connection with the people that they want to connect with. So their clients, their customers, their collaborators, their co-creators, whatever it is. And Mario, the other thing that I think that is changing is that we seem to be moving a little away from competition and moving a little more towards collaboration and co-creation. And I think that that's a powerful, good way to move forward, particularly for businesses, because from my perspective, one business brain is great, but put two business brains together and you
yes.
quadruple what is achievable, is the way
Look,
that I like to think about it.
look, absolutely. Look, I must say, I even made a small remark, a small video. While I was in Singapore, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I apologize, I'm lying. I bought a device in Dubai,
Yes.
and but I decided to start utilizing this device in Singapore. And I had
Uh-huh.
some time, and you know, when you're in hotel at evening, you know, it's you know, you're gonna watch TV, going out, spend money on a dinner, or you want to be arrested. You know what I mean? Because who knows what you do in Singapore, chewing gum, right? So like,
Yes.
uh, so I bought a
It's pretty
gimbal.
strict.
It is
Yes.
so I bought a
Oh, you bought
gimbal.
a gimbal.
Yeah, and I must say that because what I realized very early, um,
Mm.
it is not somebody can do something for me always. You know, what I mean, you pay people, you know, what I mean, to do
Yes.
content for you and create the videos and everything else. But then
Mm.
I understood while I'm traveling, why I don't capture some videos on my own and you know, like I didn't want to be
Yes.
like everybody else. You know, what I mean, just to stick and walk around. I wanted something more
Mm.
more professional. And I went
Yes.
in his store in Dubai and I spoke with this gentleman. He was very knowledgeable. And he says to me, listen, you can choose for $100 to $2,000. It's like, listen, but
Mm.
let's go spend, you know, something, you know, decent. It was a $300 device.
Yeah.
So in Singapore, I sit in hotel room and it's like, how am I going to use this? Should I go on a website of this company or should I go to the experts on Google
Or
and YouTube?
YouTube.
YouTube, yeah. And of course, I opted for the experts on YouTube.
Yeah.
And
They're
then,
really good.
uh, well, yeah,
Ah, they
look,
weren't.
look, and that's what makes you different, Tony, your show,
Yeah.
because you know what you're doing, and that's with reason myself and I'm presuming everybody else who is joining on your show enjoying because you invested yourself and invested infrastructure in the people to make this possible happen when we plugged in, except Mario.
Yes.
We have the live streaming. Now, so I come
Yes.
with the gimbal, I go on YouTube, long story short, and I say how to use DJI gimbal, what it's calling,
Yes.
Osmo 5, what it's and shortlisted 200 videos, and I said like, okay, let me see the videos
Ah.
which has the most views, and so like, and the
Uh-huh.
most recent. Anyway, there was a one gentleman, one lady, and the gentleman, he's start with his video, and I never understood why people talking about box, how the box looks like, what device come, and then
I
Tony
don't
was
get that either.
like as if like
It's a box.
it's a box, let's go talk about device. And I caught with this gentleman, this lady, the first sentence after talking about boxing, unboxing, unpacking what's inside and everything else,
Uh-huh.
I realized that next sentence was come out is going to be something very terrible, which I'm going to notice. And I really did.
Yeah.
Both they say it in the next sentence. I am not the expert in this, this, and this. And then I was like, wow, I just want to learn how to activate this thing, how to hold, just basic things.
Yeah.
But they told straight away in their videos, but I'm not the expert. Now, Tony, ask yourself, our audience, would you listen advice if somebody comes to you and say, Tony, this is the box of inside intelligence, this is investigations, and let's go say me in this example,
Mm.
this is surveillance and everything else. But listen, I'm not the expert in investigations, but I'd show you how to do it. And I was really, really disappointed that those videos has the
Yeah.
most views and they have the great comments. And I don't say they
Yeah.
don't know what they're doing, but when you try to sell something, particularly in digital arena, you cannot say I'm not the expert. So imagine us like you or me or TJ or anybody else says, I'm not the expert
Mm.
in our field, but I'll go and unpack this box and show you how to use it. Now, this
Yeah.
is the practice which actually detrimental for the company which they're representing, because they represented the particular company, and that
Mm.
company gave them the devices, and they say, I'm not the expert. So eventually after 3 hours, I go back into the original source on the box and
Uh-huh.
type in a
Yes.
website, and I was like,
Yes.
okay. And the gentleman says, I'm using this device for 5 years. This is the versions. This is it. This. And I was like, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. So this is a very
Yeah.
important digital arena, and more
Mm.
people getting out. They need to learn, firstly, which I'm grateful, to speak and know what they're gonna talk about and how they're gonna talk about. And
Yes.
that's I saw as well, and as observation. I still don't know how to use that gimbal. I know how to turn on and some fancy stuff, but the basic is still working on
I'm
it.
still trying
So
to figure out. I bought one to take overseas too, Mario, and I can turn it on, but I still haven't quite worked out the balancing bit. You know, when you connect your phone and it
it's a
auto
button.
balances.
It's a button at the back. So you just hold the
Ah,
button, and
because I
then I
think I
realized.
have exactly the same one as you, the DCI one. I'm like,
DJI,
oh,
yeah. Like it's a great gimbal. It's a great gimbal. So
yes,
this is not paid advertising, but
no,
it's a great gimbal. And
yeah,
you know what it is? Like actually proved me that I can create some small videos for myself for LinkedIn.
yes,
Very
yes,
useful. So it's not like holding the camera and this
yeah,
blah
no,
blah.
uh
And you're
huh,
doing and the two important things with gimbal is, which the guy
mm-hmm.
said on DJI, do the ninja steps, which is like slowly moving, okay, and hold the button and behind the
Yes,
stick
yeah,
to gyro. All three axes be
yes,
locked in.
yes,
So I was like, oh God, is that's all? But then you have the fancy stuff how to do the video this way, this way, this way.
yeah.
And for things I wanted, it's really, really useful. And good luck with that one. You're gonna like it, Tony, and use this
Oh,
as much
good.
as you can.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to use it when I walk around the city, hopefully. Fingers
Yes. Oh,
crossed.
yes. You will. You will enjoy, Tony.
We digress. I want to talk about your books, Mario, because there's a number of them. Um,
Yes.
and the main ones that I want to talk about today is, of course, your business related books.
Yeah.
And the first one is around the importance of establishing identity in
Mm.
factual investigations. And I wanted to know, what was the purpose behind the book? Why did you write it? Tell us what the reader will discover in reading the importance of establishing identity in factual investigations.
So the reason for that it is when we do infection investigations, and that's my third book from back, I think.
Yes.
It is that we need to understand that in investigation we talk to the humans, right? We don't talk to machines, we don't talk to trees. Somebody
Mm-hmm.
maybe does, but I don't. Maybe some people talk to the dogs, whispering dogs, or the spirits on another world. But
Yeah.
joke on the side. So I learned very early in police academy when I was doing forensic investigation, the course, to establish identity. And
Mm.
identity is very important because, after all, whoever you're talking, you need to know who you're talking with. So
Uh-huh.
I take a step further to explain, what's because the three levels of establishing your identity. First one, it's your legal, right? Your name, your surname, your date of birth,
Yes.
where you're born, and everything else. Then you have physical, the height, the body, these things. And third one, which is very important. It's your now new biometrics, right? So like it's, fingerprints and everything else.
Yeah.
Um, so the reason why I wrote it, that monograph, it was that
Mm.
people be closely understand that person you talking to. It's not just for investigation, but when you talking to somebody online, and we know that there's a lot of online
Yeah.
scam, fraud,
Yeah.
that you using one of these three groups, how to establish identity, to confirm identity of that person. Very important to understand that regardless how much we're progressing in life, and how much our society evolving, human beings, it's the slowest in that cycle.
Yeah.
And the two extreme features which I included in the different book writing right now, humans cannot change. That's a ear and the lips. You can shape of the lips and the
Ah.
size of your the
Your
e-shell, let's call it.
ears.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
inside, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's what most of the criminals, they don't even know, like, what I mean. And in the arena of an era of biometrics, biometrics are very, very good, but of course they're open
So
for
that's
the,
your eyes, Mario, and your fingertips?
yes, and DNA, and
Yes.
uh, but when you
And
go
you
in the
can't
facial,
change your DNA, can you? Like there's
like, no, we can't change DNA. No,
no.
well, let's go see what's happened after vaccines.
Well, yeah, good
DNA,
point.
DNA,
Good
DNA,
point.
DNA. It's DNA. It's very, very important. DNA,
Mm,
going to you two generation back, you get 25% from your mom, 25%
mm,
from your dad. Other
mm.
25% go to one grandparents, and other 25% to other grandparents. So like
Yeah,
it's DNA, you can't change.
that's
You
right.
can change. You can change the fingerprints. You can change today. Popular lines.
Really?
Yeah, popular lines. I forgot how many hundreds of popular lines you have on the fingerprints, but in the 90s they start experimenting, and we saw in these movies when you can do on a fingerprint
Yes.
weapons and everything else, which basically it's not science fiction.
Mm,
Military experimented with this very long time on burn units, and there you have that
mm-hmm.
artificial skin that been growing.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
when you come in the possession of that artificial skin, you start exploring all of this. So, and then of course biometrics, like looks, your face and everything else. You notice in
Mm,
the airport even today, take the mask off, the machine doesn't
yes,
recognize the mask off. But there's
yes.
other features when we establish an identity.
Mm,
It is changes on the body, right?
mm.
So this is the three groups three groups how to establish identity in investigation.
Yeah.
Then you go forward, why identities, let's say, tattoos, lost, fingers or weight, or,
Yes,
all
yes.
this is plays the importance. But first, important and foremost, it's who is Mario Bekes. What
Mm-hmm.
says on LinkedIn may or may not be true. Picture
Mm-hmm.
may or may not be true. So
Mm-hmm.
how are you going to establish? You're going to compare the information being provided publicly
Yes.
versus your drive license, passport,
Mm,
some utility bills and everything else. And
mm-hmm.
that's very important. That's the reason why that booklet, that monograph was out to people
Yes.
understand closely importance of establishing identity, who you're talking to, and why, reasons, and how.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Fantastic, Mario.
thank you.
The next one of the books that I wanted to talk about, and it's really a plan,
Mhm.
the Corporate Informant and Whistleblower Management Plan. Now, I know when we talked about this earlier in our series that you felt that it was important for bigger corporations to have some planning around how to manage people who are corporate whistleblowers. And there's no other publication quite like this, is there, Mario?
No, it is not. Usually, those type of books are very rare to you can access publicly.
Yes,
Mostly those type of books and being internal books, by the agencies,
yes,
intelligence security agencies, and the government sector who deals with the informants. And we spoke this last week when I was in Manila.
yes,
Dobbers, you know what I mean? And people believe
yes, yes.
it's very crucial to understand that uh, when you go into that field of informants, it looks appetizing on watching on the movies, like somebody becomes the
Yeah,
informant, like
yeah,
that's the
and
worth
it's
it.
all, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes,
But
well,
it's
I'll say like,
dangerous, isn't it?
of course, because I would
Mm,
say good portion of informants being recruited has been either double agents, and
mm,
so they've been sent to become informants and attracting your eye. So this is
mm,
this is this is very this is very dangerous field. So to that monograph, I try to bring people closer to understand who
mm-hmm.
the informants are, why they're becoming, motives behind, and simply management plan. So in
Yes.
case that doesn't happen to them, that they know how to react. And in US, that's a very normal thing. US
Mm-hmm.
companies, large companies, and I have a quite number of people I know in US who comes
Yeah.
out from government service and they go in corporate service and they run the informant program. Informant program,
Uh-huh.
it's very dangerous and usually it's left for the government agencies, police,
Wow.
intelligence agencies, all this. On the other hand, whistleblowers, we
Mm-hmm.
spoke about this. Whistleblowers, it's like a stigmata, right? And
Yeah.
being whistleblower, people believe that this is negative. I always say, come back. It's very positive. It's a strive forward, and there's a reason why somebody voluntarily sacrifice everything to bring
Mm.
to C management level company management, C level management company level. Reasons why something is being done wrongfully, and
Mm.
maybe fraud, maybe theft, destruction of environment, and so on. And people in Australia, so corporations take this very negatively instead of utilizing
Mm.
those whistleblowers by applying the legislations and acts and laws in Australia, depending on state where they are, and to manage them
Mm.
properly. And company always can benefit from them. And that's the reason to understand that being informant, it's a mice methodology, money, um, revenge, ego, like all these things,
Yes. Yes.
introduction. So ideology.
Mm.
And that's the coercion, money, ideology, coercion, and ego. That's a
Mm.
nice methodology. While you have
Yes.
the whistleblowers, they're straightforward, and they coming with the desire to bring to somebody's attention something's wrong.
Something bad. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the reason I wrote this book, so the corporations can understand that hiring
The
third
importance.
hiring somebody from overseas, giving a hotline to whistleblower,
Mm.
it can damage their reputation more rather than to
Mm.
deal with them internally and keep
Yes.
internally and have benefits both sides, C-level management and whistleblower.
Yeah. And you help corporations with that too as well, Mario.
That's
I
correct. That's correct.
And I think it's important to point out to the audience that some of the big disasters, if you think of environmental disasters rather, human disasters, were tipped off by whistleblowers, people who saw something was happening that was very wrong. Uh,
Yes.
for example, a corporation leaking toxic
Hmm.
waste into
Yes.
the waterways. We would not know about those things without whistleblowers in the first place. So they're very important components of humanity, aren't they?
That's correct. Look, the history proved that
Mm,
sooner or later, doesn't matter how big you are, how
mm-hmm,
strong you are,
mm-hmm.
somebody must go in prison if it's
Yeah.
something being detrimental for the health and the life of
Other
citizens,
human
people.
beings.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course, somebody must be responsible. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's, I never witnessed that somebody deliberately, purposely, destroying something to destroy
Mm,
the lives, except in a war.
mm,
So, corporations take this very seriously. And, but as I said, like there's plenty of cases in our history
mm.
where the company ignored the whistleblowers for what's happening. They
Yeah.
close their eyes and they,
Yeah.
end up losing the lives of those innocent
Yes.
people.
Yeah.
And then somebody must be responsible. So why don't act at the beginning and correct the course of action
Mm,
to be beneficial for everybody? I don't go into mathematics why somebody doesn't want to do this, but
mm.
whistleblowers should be seen as a positive, not negative.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mario, one of the other books you wrote is Proximus, which was designed to be easily read by
Yeah.
people who have an interest in security, and it was written to advise people on how to protect their family assets and business. So I'm curious, why the name and why the book?
uh that's the start of my career in this sector.
Yeah.
Yeah, I screamed deep inside of myself, why nobody noticing me?
Yes.
And in hindsight, I understand now why not, because there is a plenty of people there who try to do same things as I do.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, nobody could understand my English that stage. So I decided to write a book.
Yeah.
What I was not prepared, it was when the people write a book, they must understand one fundamental thing. Writing book, it's easiest part. Printing book is even easier.
Yes.
But what's the hardest part it is to face critiques. Now,
Yes.
we all need to face our critiques, and ours compared is like you're facing firing squad. You need to
Yep.
be prepared to receive the bullets.
Yep.
I wasn't prepared. Unfortunately for me, I asked somebody to be co-author my book, and that
Ah.
gentleman, he borrowed me his name because I was believing that he done the good deed. By doing
Uh-huh.
that book with me, putting his name, I'm gonna achieve the glory.
Mm.
um, and slowly but surely I was giving book away, and critics are usually negative, and those who are
Very
next to you,
negative.
they the first one who says, yeah, that's a good book, and it's actually, I need to say, it's a crap. Then you have the second group of the people, and we all need to and make a big difference between sincerity and truth. Sincerity, it
Yes.
is when somebody says to me, "Oh, Mario, you look like you lost the weight." Truth, it is you're still fat. You know what I mean? But that's the same. But it's truth. I mean, that's what it is. And that's if
I
somebody
know.
says differently, sincerity and the truth. It's whoever says it's the same. It's doesn't know what he's talking about. And they have a
Yeah.
third group of the people, which is like a minority, who says to you silently, "Well done. I will never dare to do this," and so on. So I wrote
Yes.
my experience because during my education, military, and I say always grateful to my
Mm.
government spending literally millions and millions of the uh, dollars on my education. I was
Yeah.
being sent in a couple schools to do this executive close personal protection
Yeah.
in combat. And, I've been in my second book now, it's coming, Price of the Freedom, which
Yeah.
continues of the Bloodstock Soil. I've been assigned, and I explained in my second book, to the state public prosecutor. And yeah, his son
Ooh.
was being killed and family. So I was being sent to school particularly to learn some skills
Mm.
and apply in his protection. And being 22 years old, it's like you think you know everything, you're the smartest guy, and so on, so on. So I took that knowledge from that particular case and another life experiences
Mm.
into this close personal protection, executive close personal protection, which is totally different from what I saw in Australia.
Ah.
And as I say, book was just a stepping stone. And
Mm-hmm.
after
Mm-hmm.
that, I was encouraged enough to continue writing something publicly. And as well, you never make a money from the book, right? That's
Yeah.
I printed 50 copies. I robbed my
Yeah.
kid piggy bank for
Yeah.
that one. Yeah, true. Like, true.
Oh, that's a lovely
Um,
story.
and you have no money now. The book cover has been done, by the one person. English was being checked by the third person. So it was a lot of improvising being uh,
Mm.
invested. But for somebody like myself, Tony, I give the big pride because
Yeah.
I done something on a language which is not mine, in
Correct.
environment where I have minimum
Unfamiliar.
support.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even know that how many critiques I have in my life till that moment. But
Yeah, they
you
all come
learn.
out of the
Yeah,
woodwork.
that's
They all
correct.
come out of the woodwork to shoot their little
And
arrows.
yeah, and good luck to them. Good luck to them.
Yeah.
And that book was my stepping stone.
Mm-hmm.
And then I decided, it's like, I don't want to talk about security. I'm a security expert. I better
Mm.
stick with just the knowledge. I'm the best at investigations. I mean, in
Yeah.
human intelligence, yeah, which is
Yeah, yeah,
basically,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
The next book that I was looking at was Chaos Theory: Road to
Oh,
Anarchy,
that one is
which
so good.
explores the theory of
Mm,
survival.
yeah.
Tell us more, Mario.
Well, I, as I say, I try to find the proper word. You see,
Yes.
in the meantime, I just want to say I always wanted to be stand-up comedian, but I realize I'm missing 95% of English vocabulary, so better not. Uh, so that book was a product of just pure calculation,
Yeah.
because chaos theory it's always been seen as unpredicted chain of events and
Mm.
unstoppable.
Yes.
I don't believe in this because usually every disaster or every chaos has a source, and only when we know that something is
Definitely.
bad happening is when we come to that tipping point and everything starts falling down. But all these connections, it's interrelated, right? And it's
Mm.
true. And it's been proven
Mm.
so many times that chaos theory, domino effect, or butterfly effect, it is interconnected. It doesn't matter where you are, how you are. So in that book, I explored what would
Mm-hmm.
happen if the one suburb doesn't have electricity.
Yes.
And that's a domino effect, like, people going to move
Yes.
next there, there's no water and everything else, and
Yeah.
so on. So the moment I published that book, I got an interesting phone call from the Canberra, and I was being told, "This is the blueprint, Marius." Like, oh well, it's not blueprint, and I was being
Oh,
advised.
that's cool.
And I was like, that was being noticed by the government sector as well. uh, so that
That's
book has been
very
published only
cool.
electronically, because every time when you publish the book,
Yeah.
it's called the Torah Library,
Mm-hmm.
Australian National Library. It's called a Torah, that section where you
Yes.
get your ISBN number and you need
Yep.
to deposit the book. And as you deposit the book,
You
somebody
get
really
that.
read those books, and
Yeah.
somebody says like chaos theory. And I think that after being read by somebody in Australian National Library, forwarded this
Yeah.
to the four-letter
Government.
agency. That was 20 years ago or something. And I got a very polite phone call, and being told, how do I see this and where is this coming from? And that was in the war stage. It was September 11 happened in
Oh no.
mm, a few years after that. So like it was still fresh memories of the people
Yeah.
in aftermath of the September 11.
Yeah.
So I was being told, you can publish electronically, copy only one can be in the library, thank you, goodbye. I said, well, okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, it's like cool with me. So yeah, it was a challenge, but that book was
Yeah.
that book
Yeah.
was made it attraction from the different sections of this country,
Absolutely.
and it was good.
Yeah. Mario, in thinking about 9/11 and terrorist attacks in general, Do we have the intelligence and technology to circumvent those events more than we had previously? Obviously, we can't, as humans, predict human behavior absolutely. But
No.
do you think we've got more intelligence now, or is it always just going to be something that happens?
Look, the terrorism always existed. When I was being trained in terrorism, and
Mm,
I do remember, um, for example, the Carlos Ramirez Sanchez,
yes,
uh, Carlos Jacal. Jacal was a then
yes.
he was a role model, and
Mm,
he was working for all these communist countries and everything else. And just one example, I do remember in that class, that lady, she come and she told us why the presidents in communism or across the globe, they always run away with the children because
yeah,
no terrorists will harm the children. That
yeah,
was in 90s,
yeah,
sorry, 80s and 90s.
yeah.
Today we see that terrorism works around the clock,
Mm,
and we never know when and where something's going to happen. Um,
correct.
no government on this planet can predict what's going to happen. But do we have the now more resources to know? Absolutely. Do we have the now
Good,
more logistics and more government agencies understanding new breed of terrorism? And
good.
after September 11, we saw that it's becoming
Yes,
more sophisticated. I mean, hijacking
yes.
planes, and I
That's
mean,
pretty out there, isn't it?
yeah, like, and executing something like this is like requiring a lot of planning, a lot of uh, even
Lot of
counterintelligence.
planning.
Yeah, like it's
Yes.
a lot of things. And then I realized after that very moment, I said like the Earth, every human soul on this planet Earth can become the victim, not just
Mm,
politicians. As in
correct.
past.
Yes.
Now terrorists doesn't choose, and I believe that every government across this globe has more capabilities, operational, tactical, and strategical, to prevent this from happening. But as well,
Good.
it's not 100%
Yeah,
bulletproof.
yeah.
Nothing is like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And then if you start to think of what I think of as homegrown terrorists and those the young people that shoot in schools and public places and uh, their capacity for pain and harm to other human beings, particularly little human beings,
Mm.
seems to be such a predominant part of the news cycle in relation to the US. And I wonder when they're ever going to understand that their right to bear arms has a consequence in this day and age. And that consequence has everything to do with the rights that they hold dear. And that doesn't align for me. Like, those mass execution events would not happen if they didn't have access to those guns.
You, we don't have enough time now to talk about this one.
I
In
know, I
60s and
know.
70s, the chief of KGB then, Yulian Andropov, uh,
Yes,
he was launched a program of the subversive activities across the Western society, and
yes,
there was three elements. One, it's infiltrating. The second one, it's educating,
yes,
and third one, it's
yes.
executing. Infiltrating, it is that you take all these fancy people, across the US, Western society, everything else, and show the good time, and to like a socialism. And sometimes, in many instances, like people who become the socialists, actually they're being first one be executed by the communists. So
Yeah.
the second one is education, and they used to be sending people in universities, pay them for the universities, everything else, and then being poised by ideology, so on, so on.
Mm.
The third one, when they grow up, that process takes 5 to 10 years time. And the third
Yeah.
one, execution, what it is, once when the people finish education, they become the part of government apparatus. And then biggest infiltration was in arena of the movies. And today generation, Tony,
Yes.
you appreciate the last 20, 30 years, all these movies coming, either
Yeah.
from Hollywood, everywhere, it's, It's all about
Yeah.
shooting and everything else. That's
Yes.
not the accident. That's not the accident. When you,
Yeah.
because it's been shown that society it's cracking, and
Yeah.
only response is killing people, right? And unfortunately,
Yes.
in US, I can't understand. I can't make my head around um, how they this because nobody just take a rifle, Tony, and just shoot people in school. You see, this last example, I forgot the name of
Yes.
the school, where this young pupils, this young kids,
Yes.
like
They were
like
babies.
God, I
Babies.
can't understand this. Not, my heart is breaking when I saw the pictures of these
Yeah.
kids. But
Yeah.
this boy, he playing this.
I
He
know.
planned this, and
I
how he
know.
planned, we're never gonna find out, obviously, but them being poisoned by many things from the past, which is reflecting
Mm-hmm.
our history right now.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of this around across the globe carries that Julian Dropov
Yeah.
operations, which has been that infiltration, education, execution of the idea to the destabilize society. Basically, that's what it is.
Yes.
And I don't know what's happening in US. I'm glad that things gonna change. I hope it's gonna change for better. But
Same.
as you see, but that's a problem, Tony. We talk about terrorism, but the Nash,
I
I mean,
think
which is
more
ISIS.
people are killed from guns and gun violence than anything else.
And that's exactly what it is. It's like, nobody can say to me, guns kill the people. People kill the people.
People kill people.
I was in military, and, there was from time to time accidental discharge of the weapon, some people being
Mm-hmm.
injured. Uh,
Yeah.
so in the military, nobody takes the weapon and carry and is shooting around, right? That doesn't happen. So
Nope.
for this boy and everybody else, I think planning was involved. He knew what he's
Mm,
doing.
yeah.
And I can't understand why would you take a life of innocent people. And
Innocent
that's always,
little
yeah, always for
kids.
one guy with assault rifle took so many
Yes.
lives.
Yes.
I mean, be worrying about ISIS. I mean, makes
And I
sense.
agree, Mario. I actually think on this one issue that Australia has done it right. We do not have access to those sorts of weapons.
No,
And we don't have those
there is
massive
no, there is no, there
amounts.
is no need. There is no need. That's the reason why you have the
Yeah.
military. Military protect your borders,
Yes.
and and fighting external enemies. Then you have law
Yes.
enforcement agencies, and thanks to them, we're sleeping peacefully.
Correct.
I don't understand people who, Tony. I come from my end. The day when I left all my weapons, all my equipment,
Yeah.
I lost my mission. I know I felt terrible, but then I felt relieved because
Yes.
I knew it that, you know, in a job I was working,
Mm-hmm.
I was had this idea, what if I need to use the so I'm not talking about war, I'm talking, after the
Yes.
war.
Yeah. You're in. Yeah.
Yeah, working as an agent, state security agent, and um, what if I need to discharge, what I mean, or something happened, what I mean,
Mm,
or whatever it is.
mm.
Uh, Carrying the weapon, it's a burden, and so I never
Yeah.
understood
Yeah.
people when I see on the just having like a 50 assault rifles at home and all these
Yes.
snipers. What are you doing with
Yes.
this? Like, what for? Who do you hunt?
Why? Why?
But that's actually as well. It's very dangerous, and I'm hoping that
Yeah.
U.S. government's going to resolve this for
I
the
do
benefit of
too.
everybody. So I don't care for
I do
the
too.
Second Amendment or Fifth Amendment, whatever
Yes.
amendment they have.
Whatever the
That's been
amendment it is.
that's written 300 years ago. These amendments.
Exactly.
So
300 years ago when they had muskets that loaded for
yeah,
single shots and they didn't have assault rifles. I
weapons
just mass
should be
weapons of mass
under
destruction.
lock.
I
Yes,
yes,
should
under
be
lock and
locked.
key.
Yeah, yeah,
Now, Mario, before I run out of time, in the last three
yes,
minutes, we need to talk
yeah.
about blood-soaked soil, which is phenomenal, and I am taking it with me on holiday so I can
Thank you,
finish the
Tony.
last little bit. But
Yes,
it's part of a trilogy of books,
that's
yeah?
correct. Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
So when's the next one's coming out?
Well, hopefully it's going to come in next 3 months because I just finished my last chapter while I was overseas. So again,
Yes.
between the experts on YouTube and
Yes.
my time off, I was doing my book.
Yes.
So I used
Well
the time. So
done.
3 months, yeah. Look, my mission is very simple. My mission is to change one life at a time through my life experiences. And if one
Absolutely.
person get energy, inspiration, motivation
From
from my
reading the
book,
books. Mm-hmm.
good for
Mm-hmm.
them. And that's the
Yeah.
reason why I'm writing book. And I'm grateful that I can talk today about my book
Yes.
on Tony TV.
Yes.
And I'm
Yes.
inviting everybody,
Blood
don't,
soaked soil, guys. Read it before Mario gets the next one out because it's a
next one is
great
700
book.
pages. So enjoy the 200 pages now. Second one said
Oh,
700 pages. So
eight,
yeah,
800 pages, Mario.
700, 700.
That's outstanding effort. What's the
I
next
try to,
one called? Have you got a name for it yet?
yes, the price of freedom. Yeah. So
Ooh, and it's your story continuing?
that's continued. So like it's continuing 92 to
Yay.
95.
Yes, yes,
My next 5 years in the military, and
yes.
going to that to that process, understanding that war didn't happen to us, happened to for us
Mm-hmm.
because
Yes,
somebody has decided, and then you saw. Uh, then why I say price of the freedom, because freedom, everything has a price,
it
and
does. Yeah.
ultimately, when you see all this sheer destruction, loss of the life,
Yes.
um, and you continuously being fed into that machine, and you
Yes.
somehow believe it, and we believe it, that war is over. It was just
Mm-hmm.
a stalemate. UN arrived in Croatia,
Yeah.
and 12 months later, I was back into the this time in attack, not
Yeah.
defending, so attack,
Yeah.
and I was a totally different man. I
Yes.
changed myself, and yeah, it's gonna be very interesting. And psychological warfare. I have
Yes.
all this
Yes. I can't wait to
government.
read it.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Oh, good. Mario, we are completely out of time. As you know, I have adored having you
Yeah,
as my co host on these
thank you so much.
shows.
Thank you, Tony.
Just your stories are brilliant, amazing, and life changing. And
Thank
to
you, Tony.
know the work that you've had to do on yourself to get from that young man back in Croatia to the juggernaut of global intelligence that you are now, I am just delighted we've been able to share this time together. Mario, I just wanted one more shout out, guys. Please jump on and get Blood Soaked Soil while you
Thank you, Tony.
can, because as Mario says, the next version is coming out, and you want to read this one before you get the next one. Mario, thank you. Thank the
Thank you,
team at
Tony.
Insight Intelligence. It's been an absolute delight to have you, and such good education for the audience and the public around intelligence that is real, not the stuff we see on the movies or in the TV. Mario,
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, TJ. Thank you, all listeners on Tony TV. Guys, just tune in every moment you have to that awesome TV channel, and you're gonna be happy to
Thank
hear
you
and learn.
so
Thank you.
much,
Thank
Mario. And don't forget that you can connect to Mario. You can ask him questions. We have all the links to all of Mario's books, his website, and how to connect with him anywhere that you see this interview, be it live or in replay. Please thank Mario Bekes from Inside Intelligence, and I'm your host, Toni Londa, signing off for a wee break overseas. Bye for now. We'll be back in July. Thank you, Mario.
Thank you.